Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm going to be talking about my trading study plan. I'll first talk about how I decided on my trading style as well as the asset class, and then I'll be talking about the resources that I'm using and delving into detail about my study plan. And then the third part is going to be on some early updates about how things are going. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how I designed my study plan because I just made a video, which I'll link over here, that's about how to design efficient study plans and how to make sure that you stick with it. All right, let's get started. Let's go. First off, I'm going to talk about how I decided on my trading style and asset class. I did quite a lot of research into the most suitable trading style and study plan for me. What I learned is that deciding how you want to trade has a lot to do with your lifestyle, your purpose, the amount of capital that you have, and what your priorities are. So here's my criteria. In terms of purpose, my goal is to become a consistently profitable trader, making somewhere between 1 to 2% every single month. I'm not really about trying to make a lot of money really fast. For me, it's all about wanting to be more consistent and wanting to be more sustainable. In terms of lifestyle, I do work a full-time job and I also, do YouTube and stuff on the side as well. So I don't have time to just be staring at a screen and looking at tickers going up and down the entire day. I would be able to spend about an hour every day looking at trades and thinking about my trades, but I do want to be able to focus on other things as well. In terms of capital, so most of the money that I earn after paying off rent and food and things like that goes directly into investments, like long-term investments. So the amount of money that I'm willing to completely lose from trading is $10,000. So that's the initial amount of capital that I'll be using to fund my account. And in terms of priorities, my biggest priority is to learn quickly and efficiently. I did research into different trading styles to find which one suited my criteria the best. I also did try a few different asset classes and trading styles myself just to kind of get a feel for it too. What I ended up settling on is forex swing trading. The reasoning for this is because the forex market is extremely liquid and it moves really quickly, which will actually help me prioritize learning because I'm able to put in more trades and see the results of that. Forex is also a lot more conducive to having a smaller account size. Like my $10,000 can last quite a while in the forex market because you can trade lot sizes, you can have standard lots, but you can also trade mini lots and even micro lots depending on your broker. And people start trading forex even when they have like $100 or $500 in their account. And this is compared to other asset classes like stocks, for example, especially if you're trading like large cap stocks. One of those stocks is going to cost you like $100 or more. So your capital goes less in those asset classes compared to forex. Third reason is that forex is supposedly also very conducive to technical analysis, which is what I wanted to focus on. And another reason for swing trading in forex is because of my lifestyle. So with swing trading, I'm holding it for a few days. So that's something that I think is much more sustainable for me as opposed to scalping or day trading. And also in terms of the market hours, because the forex market is open 24/5, I'm able to put in trades earlier in the morning and after work because I don't want to be focusing on, my trades and trying to put in trades while I'm working at the same time. As with anything in life, there are always downsides, and the downsides that I identified that mattered the most to me, the first one is that it is a pretty volatile market. So that means I do have to be careful about that. I need to pay attention. And the second reason is that in forex, most of the people who trade in this market are big industry people, like banks and hedge funds and things like that. So I am naturally at that disadvantage because not only my volume is a lot smaller, I also have way less information and access to information than they do. And the third thing is that unlike trading stocks or bonds, I don't get that interest or dividend payout. The final decision that I had to make was between discretionary trading versus systematic trading. So if you guys know my background, which is in computer science, data science, like very computery, codey things, you would probably guess I would go with systematic trading, right? And that's what I thought too. I do want to really get a feel for the market myself. And I think at some point I will at least have a portion of my portfolio in systematic trading. But I think it's really important to be able to understand the psychology behind the markets and really kind of get into action and understand more deeply what's happening before moving on to systematic trading. Not saying that systematic trading doesn't allow you to do that, but for me personally, I think by being a discretionary trader first, it would allow me to learn a lot more about the markets. Specifically, I chose to do price action trading with mostly just looking at prices, less so on indicators and chart patterns. And that's just because this is just what makes the most sense to me. And I find that I do get caught up on looking at indicators when I rely a lot on those. All right, moving on to the resources that I'm using and my study plan. During the research phase, I found out that the best way to learn is by putting in as many trades as possible yourself, which is not super surprising because that's generally, it's best to learn by doing the thing that you're trying to learn. I also learned that it's really important to have a system and be hypothesis driven, even as a discretionary trader, and not just be like, oh, I don't know, let me just put in a trade because I have an urge to put in a trade. I also learned that it's really important to keep record and have a trading journal, which for me took me a while to settle on a trading journal that works well for me, which I'll be going into more details later. And it's important to be careful with risk management. So each trade that I'm putting in should not exceed 1% of my portfolio amount of $10,000. In my case, the risk of each trade never exceeds $100. For resources, I invested in The Ultimate Price Action Trader by Rainer 2. And this was after quite substantial amount of deliberation and also seeing a lot of his free content. I was really impressed by the quality and the value he was delivering with his free content. So that kind of, I felt like he was a lot more trustworthy than a lot of the other online trading coaches or gurus that are out there. I feel like I do need to put this out there. I'm not sponsored by Rainer. I have no association with him. I paid my own money to go and do this. I think this is particularly important in this field where there's a lot of people trying to scam you by promising you that they're going to teach you how to trade. Anyways, I also found that The Ultimate Price Action Trader had pretty good reviews. And in terms of Rainer's style of trading, he focuses a lot on the forex markets. He's not exclusively on forex, but he does have a significant portion of it, which is what I'm interested in. He's also more of a swing trader or a long-term trader, so that also matches my profile. And finally, I like the way that he's very logical, and he's more about trying to get you to understand how to approach trading and creating your own systems of trading, as opposed to exactly telling you to memorize certain patterns or like to put in specific trades. I'm not going to go into like a full-blown review of this, but if you guys do want me to do a review, please leave a comment and I'll be happy to do so. I'm also supplementing The Ultimate Price Action Trader with trading psychology books as well as direct practice, because I find that Rainer's stuff is very good at teaching concepts and things, but there's not as much like direct practice in it. So I'm doing that on my own, where I'm translating the stuff that he teaches into actual trades myself. The reason why I'm also reading more trading psychology books is because Rainer is a little bit more practical side, that he's very much about, okay, like this is how you need to like think about, this is the framework that you need to use when you're trading, but he doesn't really talk that much about what's the correct mentality to approaching trading and things like that. And I know that trading psychology is really important, so I also wanted to supplement that side. Oh, I forgot to mention in terms of broker, I chose to go with Oanda, and I also am using TradingView as the platform, which I'm connecting to the broker. Again, not sponsored, have nothing to do with these TradingView people or with Oanda people, but that's what I found was the most suitable towards my needs. The way that I'm using these resources is focusing on two priorities. The first one is a breadth versus depth approach. So I'm very breadth driven, in which I'm trying to understand the trading reasoning behind things and understand the frameworks of trading and the concepts that are being presented, as opposed to trying to memorize exact patterns or like exact information. And I use that information that I learned to focus on the second concept, which is direct trading. So I basically learn this information and then I try to apply it as fast as possible into real life trading. I studied The Ultimate Price Action Trader on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday for 100 minutes. And I also put in my trades during that time as well. For the first 2 months, I focused exclusively on paper trading because I didn't want to go and just lose all my money without having any understanding of what's happening. And then after those 2 months, I then slowly moved on to also putting in trades in my real account. As I said, Learner is all about learning the concepts, understanding what's happening, and then directly implementing that into putting in trades myself. And of course, each trade only am risking $100 at maximum. Something that's important to mention, I think, is the fact that I don't think this trading plan or this self-study plan is perfect, right? And I'll talk about some of the tweaks that I do later on in the video as well. But I think it's really important to design the study plan and actually focus on the strategy for a substantial period of time. What a lot of people talked about is falling into the trap of having this like strategy or like the system in place, and then they do that for maybe just a little bit, but they don't really get the hang of it, and then they think it's not working, so they move on to another system afterwards, and they just kind of like keep doing that and wasting a lot of time and wasting a lot of money because they never really truly learn how to use the system to begin with. So my plan is to stick with this trading system, this trading plan for at least 3 to 5 months so that I can actually say, hey, like I really did give an attempt and try to understand what's happening and use these concepts well in direct trading before deciding and reevaluating if I want to stick with this plan or move on to a different approach. All right, next section is implementation of the study plan and some early updates. It's been about 2.5 months now since I've been following the study plan, not including the research phase and the study planning phase. For the first 2 months, I was learning from the ultimate price action trader and placing the trades into my paper trading account. I took notes and tried to focus specifically on the logic behind how to put in trades and also synthesizing the information that's being presented and creating that framework that I tried to the best of my ability to follow. I did also go through quite a few types of trading journals before I settled on one now that I think works the best. The first approach that I tried was using a Google Doc in which I would look at the 7 major currency pairs because they have the most narrow spread. And then I would go and evaluate each one and try to figure out where the market is at and whether if I wanted to place a trade or not. And I would take notes on all of these every day. I found that quickly became pretty tedious though, because I have to look at every single one and then write down my notes for every single one. And I didn't have that much time to look at other currency pairs or to think about other things because I just kind of ran out of time because this took so much time just to maintain it. I also tried writing things by hand and having a spreadsheet, but that didn't really work that well for me either because it was hard to stay organized and be consistent about it. So I ultimately found a trading journal template for Notion, which I think is quite good. I did tweak a little bit to match my specific trading, but I do think that it's better than the other versions that I've tried before. I really want to give credit to the person who made the trading template, but I kind of forgot where it is that I found it from, but I will try my best to go and look that up and link it in the description so you guys can also check that out. During this time, I put in 11 trades and I made approximately $400 in fake money. I also read Trading in the Zone, which is a trading psychology book, and I would read it most nights before I went to bed. This book I think was pretty good, but I kind of wish that I didn't choose it as my first book to read in trading because it's the way that the author writes is kind of convoluted, and sometimes you have to read a passage, at least I have to read a passage a couple times to understand what it is that he's trying to convey. But in general, what I took away from that is psychology is really important, and you really need to align yourself with the correct mentality of how to trade if you want to be a consistently profitable trader. I think most of the concepts that were being presented in the book are still marinating in my brain right now. Although over time, I think some of them are things that I've started to incorporate more into my thought process when I'm putting in a trade. I think I'm lucky in the sense that because I come from a more computer science, data science, that kind of background, more I guess you want to call it a more logical background. Some of the issues that this guy talks about in his book, they didn't feel very applicable to my way of thinking to begin with. I don't really have a gambling personality, for example.
Several months later.
40,500,000 all in.
But there are other things like trying to think in probabilities, right? Approaching a trade not in terms of trying to win every single trade, but thinking more in probabilities. So those are the things that I am working on in terms of the way that I think and approach trading. So after about 2 months of learning things, taking notes about it, and then applying it into my trading in paper money, I switched over slowly into using real money. I think it does feel a little bit different when you're using real money because if it's fake money, you ultimately know that you're not actually going to be losing or earning any money. So, you do have a different feeling to it. But I was really happy that I started off with paper trading and using the strategies and practicing them on paper trading first. Because when I switch over to using real money, that habit of how to approach trading kind of switched over because I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing when I was trading paper money. I can definitely see if you started immediately with real money, your emotions would have a lot more to do with how you place trades. In my real account, I'm actually down $57.04, but that's okay. It's part of the process. I didn't put in as many trades as I wish that I did. That was because I was primarily more focused on learning concepts and those strategies as opposed to implementing them more. Still using the Notion trading journal, kind of tweaked it a little bit more, but the entire format and everything is still the same, and it's worked pretty well for me. In terms of the book, I finished Trading in the Zone and I moved on to another book called Trading for a Living. Wait, actually it's the New Trading for a Living. Psychology, Discipline, Trading tools and systems, risk control, and trade management. I don't think this would have made a good YouTube title. It's very long. But yeah, so that's the book, New Trading for a Living. Kind of wish that I started off with this book first because it's a lot easier to consume than trading in its own. And it has a lot of really interesting points that it illustrates. For me, I focus specifically more on the psychology components and discipline and trading journals, as well as risk control and management, as opposed to like the strategy side of things. That's because, as I was saying earlier, it's better to just focus on trying a specific system and actually giving that a chance before trying to move on to different systems. Because a lot of different systems can work for different people, right? And this guy presents a system that's pretty different from the way that Rainer presents. So I want to like really try with Rainer's system first before incorporating other strategies. So overall, things have been going pretty good. Not bad at all. I do quite like the ultimate price action trader. Although I do want to get a little bit more out of it, I haven't been taking full advantage of the live streams and the resources that he provides as part of the package. Also, he has these trading alerts that he describes what he's going to do for the next week in terms of trades. And I haven't really been using those because I was scared that I would fall into the trap of following someone else's trades. But now I feel more confident with my own system of how I approach trading. So I can go and learn a lot from watching someone's logic behind a trade and seeing what happens after. I also want to improve my trading frequency, especially during the last month. I didn't trade as much as I wanted to. I understand that you really need to put in your trades in order to improve quickly. So I only put in 5 trades. My goal is to put in at least 10 trades per month and hopefully 15 trades. Another thing that I'm still working on is trying to develop a more sustainable approach to trading. I find that I would go and put in some trades, but then I would kind of like look at my trades throughout the day, like luckily I like at least like 2 to 3 times a day. And that's kind of distracting because I'm not able to focus on doing other things and it's not productive either, just like looking at what's happening to my trades. So I'm playing around with using alerts more often and also not just using market orders, but using limit orders and using buy orders. And last one is on trading psychology. I'm still, having that information marinate in my head, trying to incorporate the correct psychology into my trading. But the thing with psychology is that it's not like you can just be like, all right, let me think differently now. It's like a long-term process. So that's still something that I'm working on and I'm making progress towards. All right, we have come to the end of this video of my trading study plan. I hope this has been helpful for you guys, for anyone out there that's also learning how to trade like myself. I need to put a disclaimer to say I'm not telling you that this is like the best approach to learning how to trade or anything like that. Like I'm learning to do this myself, right? I'm only trying to share with you how I'm approaching things in a journey that I'm taking right now. And hopefully it can also help you guys plan your own trading study plan. All right, have a wonderful day and I hope to see you in the next video or live stream.